In this week's Crafty Chat, I'm talking about my favorite springtime sweater and cardigan patterns, and I'm going to link them for you as well, so you can go and look them up right away. I'm talking about my currently favorite yarns, and I'm also talking about all my works in progress, except for the ones that are gifts that I'm not gonna spoil. So it is a pattern and yarn recommendation video for springtime. So if that sounds like something you'd like to hear, then stay with me and let's get into it. Now, when I started the channel, I started right away with some big projects, like for instance the beginner sweater tutorial, and that's gonna be something that keeps me occupied for another 2 weeks, so I'm trying to make this one today a bit of an easy one, but also give you lots of inspiration for spring knitting and talking about what I'm doing right now. And one of my initial ideas was and is to, in the Crafty Chats, include a yarn of the week. I'm going to introduce you to a different yarn every week and talk about what I like about it, what I use it for. And so this way you can kind of take my experiences with these yarns and learn from them or completely discard them, whatever you want to do. So you might not know that I actually work at a yarn online shop here in Switzerland. It's local to Switzerland in the sense that you can only order to Switzerland, which for many of you might mean that you can't buy from them, but if you do, then go and check out yarny.ch. But from working at that yarn online shop in a very short amount of time, I've learned so much more about yarn, and I realized that all this knowledge I have about yarn is it's sad if I only use it for myself. So this is why I'm introducing this segment of the yarn of the week. So if that sounds like something you like, then come back every week to the weekly Crafty Chats and check it out. Okay, let's start with the work in progress I'm working on the most right now. So this is, I don't know how much you actually see of it, but I am working on this sweater, which it is a basic raglan sweater. It has a 3-stitch wide raglan seam, and I don't know how well you see the fluffy texture of the yarn right now, but this yarn is amazing. So I am basing this pattern on the Louisiana sweater by Petiteknit, but she makes the Louisiana sweater with 9mm needles, and these are a bit too thick for me for the yarn I wanted to work with. And so for this one I actually went from deciding what yarn I want to work with and then looked for a pattern I could work it with, and I found that kind of the tailoring of the Petiteknit Louisiana sweater was the exact thing I wanted for this sweater. And so I just took the pattern and calculated it to the stitch count of the yarn I'm using, which is a bit thinner than the yarn she uses there. And so that's kind of how I did it, and it's a really, really nice, cute and basic sweater. I worked stripes into it, even though it's not designed with stripes, but I just made regular stripes. I calculated how thick I wanted them to be, and then I just counted the row numbers for that, and I can really recommend that sweater. I'm linking the pattern down below. It costs a few bucks, but let me tell you, when it comes to knitting patterns, the work that goes into designing them, into having them test knitted, into having them tech edited, it's a lot. I've designed one cardigan pattern so far for different sizes, and the work was a lot. So I do think it is worth paying a few bucks for a good pattern, also one that you can also go back to later and modify and make something with, and then you have kind of the stitch counts pre-calculated for you. This is kind of the way I stripe it, and it's so amazing. I love it. And this yarn is it has in the center, it has a nylon thread, and then the rest of it is cashmere. It's 88% cashmere that is kind of blown through the nylon thread, and it makes it beautifully fluffy, and I think it is actually the softest yarn I've touched in my life so far. It's amazing. It's also quite costly. If you can afford it and if you can find it, I can so highly recommend this yarn. My favorite raglan sweater pattern is the Lazy Sunday Sweater by Adorable Knits. I've knitted it, I think, 4 times. Well, at least 3 times so far. And I can very highly recommend that one to you. It's also, I find, pretty beginner friendly. There's a lot of text, but there are also a lot of links and kind of helps and guides to guide you through the process, so that's very good. But yeah, I actually have a sweater here I wanted to recommend to you that used this pattern. So for this sweater here, I used her pattern for the stitch count, and for the construction I made it according to her pattern. But this is actually something that I also want to just recommend to you. If you have a lot of scrap yarn, there's a way that you can combine your scrap yarn. But what I did here is I just combined like several different yarns, and also kind of combined some strands of different yarns in different ways, and I tied them all together. I skeined them into very beautiful looking little yarn skeins, and then I just cast it on and knitted and used the yarn as it came up, and that's how it turned out. Especially kind of this section here in the middle. This is so beautiful. I think this is my favorite section in this sweater. Oh, it's so gorgeous. So yeah, can highly recommend the Lazy Sunday Sweater by Adorable Knits, and kind of improvising it with some self-made yarn combinations. Okay, obviously my other work in progress is the knitting your first sweater, this one, the one that the beginner knitting series I am filming is about, and it's a nice knit. I love the colors that I included here. I'm using this Suri alpaca by Lang Yarns to make some stripes from time to time, and this color combo, just seeing these together, they're so pretty. So yeah, and the base yarn I'm using for that is by Wool and the Gang, Alpacino Merino in Ivory White. Yeah, so this pattern I came up with. If you want to see how I made it, then go and check out the first part that is already up. But I actually measured a sweater I already have and like, and used these measurements to kind of make this sweater, and so I can make sure that the sweater is exactly how I like it. And that's just, it's an awesome way to knit something, because you already know that it's going to fit perfectly. So yeah. Now the next one, I don't know, according to what your taste is like, maybe is a bit more wintry to you, but a few weeks ago I casted on the Porcelain Sweater by Lene Holmes is her name, and her kind of brand name is leKnit, and it's a beautiful sweater. I love it. It's color work, so I always love to look at the insides of color work. It looks so like complex and complicated, but it's not that hard to wear. I don't think it's hard to wear color work with 2 strands, but this is a really, really pretty sweater, and I'm looking very much forward to wearing it. And I don't know, maybe your opinion is that combining blue and white together makes it wintry or something, but I find it actually kind of makes it a bit more summery to me. And yeah, it was so much fun to knit. I stopped working at it for a little while because I came to the ribbing, and it's 1x1 ribbing, so knit purl on 3mm needles, which is let me check, US 2.5. And oh my god, it takes so long to knit just 1 row. Oh my god. Yeah, so maybe I need to continue with the sleeves and go back to the ribbing later, but yeah, that's the reason I kind of stopped. But I love the pattern. It's absolutely beautiful. It's so pretty, and I like it so much actually that once I finish this one, I'm going to cast on a second one right away. And let me quickly show you the yarn I'm working with here. So the base merino is this color combination, and it's the Merino 200 Bébé. It's the Merino 200 Bébé by Lang Yarns. Bébé just means that it's super wash, so you can actually also wash it, which makes it a bit more easy to use for baby clothing. And I'm combining that with the matching colors of Lang Yarn's lace. And Lang Yarn's lace is their, let's say, a bit more fancy mohair. They also have a basic, or it's not actually basic, it's also very fancy, but they have another mohair that is called Mohair Luxe, and this is kind of their I think most widely used mohair. And the lace one is a bit more expensive. It has a higher percentage of silk, so this one is actually 42% silk. And yeah, the color just matches so perfectly, like it went so well. This one is so pretty, I love it, and because I like it so much, I'm going to make another one. That's the color combo, and I don't know, like, isn't it so pretty? And this pinkish, pink, purple, the color is just perfect. It's so close to my design. This is a bit more blue than I would have wanted it, but it's the one that came the closest to what I was going for. But together, I mean, it's so visually pleasing. I love it. I guess like my favorite knitwear designer, Veronica Lindberg, who is known as Kutovakika on YouTube and Instagram. But yeah, so a sweater of hers I recently made is the Wishbone sweater. And I don't know, like, if I were the designer of this sweater, I would be so proud. I feel like that would be peak, like that's peaking, that it's so beautiful, like the details of the stripe continuing on the shoulder like that, and then just flowing into a cable here. Impeccable. Like details like that just make me so happy. And yeah, it just looks so pretty. And the color choice, again, we're back at this very palish pink. I'm so happy that I picked this color. And I also combined a strand of a cashmere that is more like a mohair, so it's a combination yarn by Lang Yarns. It's called Cashmere Dreams, and I put a strand of that in combination with the merino and the mohair I used, and it made it look a bit more luxurious. Like it looks a bit more fluffy now, and it feels so nice. Like it's the softest. The Wishbone sweater by Kutovakika, and in a palish pink color like this one, highly recommend as a spring knit. So the Louisiana sweater before was by Petiteknit, and this cardigan, this is the balloon cardigan by Petiteknit as well. It's also by her. I made this using Knitting for Olive merino and Knitting for Olive, I think it's called soft silk mohair, in Dusty Banana. Knitting for Olive is kind of known for having perfect color matches between their merinos and their mohair, and they are just, that's what they're known for, and that's what they deserve to be known for. It's impeccable. It looks so pretty, and I never, honestly, making something in yellow is special for me. Like I don't tend to kind of be drawn to yellow, but the Dusty Banana, this dusty soft yellow, the oversized look of this in that way, awesome. Love it. And this cardigan, I've worn it in winter, I've worn it in spring, I've worn it in summer. It is so beautiful. I love it, and I can so highly recommend this one. Also, getting it in a very palish yellowish color like this makes it obviously feel even more like spring. But yeah, the pattern is great. It's a very light and airy texture. Kind of using the recommended needle size and yarn makes it really soft and light, and the perfect sweater to wear all, or like the perfect cardigan to wear all year round. So also this, highly recommend. The last sweater recommendation before I go into talking about my works in progresses and yarns is it's so beautiful. It's the Auguste Cardigan by Kolibri by Johanna. Her name is Johanna Gerisch, and her designs, first of all, beautiful. She also has a book out, beautiful. Love it. And it's a very simple kind of, I think it's a 3x3 cable, and she alternates that with regular stripes. And I used this beautiful red for this one. I was working on this for quite a while because I had so many projects going at a time when I started this, but since I finished it, I've worn it so much. I worn it so often. It's beautiful. I think it's the perfect sweater. Now, her pattern is designed and photographed in this very beautiful, vibrant orange, and let me tell you, I'm tempted to recreate the exact same color as well. But yeah, I can also very much recommend this one. I find this is a good cabled cardigan pattern to start knitting cables, because you always twist the cables in the same direction, so you can't like mess it up as you could with the Wishbone sweater. So yeah, also this one, highly recommend. Get into it. Now let's get to my other works in progresses. They're not all necessarily spring knits, I'd say, but I mean I will finish them in a few weeks probably, and I will wear them anyway. But so here right now it's really warm. I live in Zurich, Switzerland, and it's February 15th, and it's really like spring warm right now. It is over 10 degrees Celsius each day. It's very sunny. I think the birds already came back, the plants are blossoming a bit, and I'm 100% certain that at some point in a few weeks' time, the temperatures are going to drop again and we're going to get winter again, and that's kind of why I'm not really enjoying the spring right now. But that is also kind of why I don't feel like bad or hesitant about continuing to knit things that were meant for winter, because I'm so sure it's going to be back anyway. So what I'm actually knitting, and oh my god, let me tell you, so pretty. You can't really recognize what it is yet, but this is the pattern for the Cozy Coco hood by Kutovakika, and the Wishbone sweater I showed earlier, it was by her as well. And I have to say, she is one of the most amazing knitwear designers ever. Like, using this honeycomb stitch pattern, which I loved, kind of meeting by her design. And like in general, the cable she uses, the lace she uses is beautiful. But using this for a hood, and I'll insert a picture, I'm sure, but kind of having this hood with a bow in the front and very nice knitted edge, and then having this, so this is the top part. This is the top of the head right now. It's just, oh. And she made her sample in red, and I usually try to mix up the colors from what the patterns used and kind of go with my own style, but the way that red looked is just so beautiful that I had to do it in red as well. And I also still had yarn left over from other projects, so I am using Merino 120 by Lang Yarns, one skein of this, and holding it together with 2 skeins of the Cashmere Dreams that I've already mentioned. So I started using one of these in the sleeves of the Auguste cardigan to make them a bit softer. And now I'm using the yarn that I have left over and taking 2 strands of it and combining it with the Merino 120 in this very nice, bit darker red. And I love knitting this. I had to redo an entire row, which kept me from working on it for a few days, but I'm back at it and I hope I'll finish it soonish. I'm going to finish the Louisiana sweater first, but yeah, that's one I'm working on as well. Now I am going to make the Salty Days sweater with the following yarn. So I always arrange when I have like a work in progress planned, and they gauge swatched and it works out well, and I know which pattern I'm going to do with which yarn. I arrange them in these boxes. So I got these boxes from IKEA, and I get my label maker and I write kind of what I'm making with them and put all the yarn that is for the project in here already, just to kind of have it all in one place. And then when I work a pattern, like for instance the Louisiana sweater, I just carry around this box from room to room for wherever I'm working on it, and then I have all the skeins in one place. When I'm working on it, I oftentimes also put my notebook in it as well, and also already put the needles I'm going to need for the sleeves in it as well, so that I have really everything in one place and I don't need to get up and look for all the different parts. And mostly, honestly, that I don't accidentally use the yarn skeins on another project because I thought they were just sash yarn. I mean, that could really happen to me. But here is my box that I already prepared for the Salty Day sweater, and I'm going to knit it using this very, very soft light blue and almost kind of green leaning light blue Double Sunday by Sandness Garn, and it's one of the Petiteknit collab colors. So Petiteknit has some of her own colorways in Sandness. And then I'm using the, I think it's called, let me get one with the label. It's Silk Mohair by Isayer. I recently learned you don't pronounce it Isager or something like that. You say Isayer. So yeah, I'm combining it with this one. This one looks quite greenish on its own, and when you put it together, it looks very light blue, but yeah, I'm combining these two. This is a very, very nice silk mohair, like the Silk Mohair by Isayer. This is so luxurious, it's so soft, it's so beautiful. They have amazing colors. Like, I haven't knitted an entire sweater and worn it with it yet, but even just from making the gauge swatch, very beautiful. And I mean, like, this light blue is obviously such a nice color for spring. I was considering switching from the Salty Day sweater to the Arctic Light sweater for this yarn, because Kika made her Arctic Light sweater also in a light blue, and it looks very pretty. But I feel like I don't know if that sounds weird if I say it like this, but I feel like the Arctic Light sweater has like something very girly-ish to it. And I'm not against that at all, but I feel like that could pop much more with like a vibrant color. And so I think that I want to go for something more kind of cable-ish, cable sweater-ish. I do oftentimes impulsively cast on a new project because I do arrange them already in a way where I really can just get the box and start. I honestly also sometimes even put the printed pattern into these boxes. And so the next one is an example of an impulsive cast on. So I've been seeing the Magnolia Bloom sweater for quite a while now. Then I got this very, very, very beautiful shade of Merino 120 by Lang Yarns, and their merinos are really amazing quality. This color, I mean, so beautiful. And then I swatched it with their Mohair Luxe, and this is so fluffy, and I mean, look how perfectly they match. It's just, honestly, this is appetizing. I don't know if that's weird to say, but this is appetizing to me. But I swatched them together. I didn't meet gauge, and so I took a second strand of this, and then I met gauge, and then I was keeping myself from casting on because I already am working too many projects, but then I did cast on, and I mean, oh my god, look at this, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And it's also a sweater using the folded brim, which honestly, having a folded collar or a folded brim like this, I'm never not gonna do that anymore because it's just, it looks so fancy. Like, even though you oftentimes wouldn't really use a dark color for lace patterns, I feel like in the Magnolia Bloom it looks very luxurious and pretty, and in daylight you will still see the lace pattern and it will just look just amazing. So I think it's worth it, even though I think it looks very, very pretty, especially the folded brim looks very, very pretty, and the fluff of having two strands of the already very voluminous Mohair Luxe by Lang Yarns looks pretty. I hate knitting bubbles, and like, I don't know if you see it well here, but first of all, they always twist inwards for me, and I've tried so many tips of people kind of telling me how to get the bubbles not to turn inwards with the method I'm using here, and I'm using the method that is recommended in the pattern, and it doesn't work. It still turns inwards. And a fellow member of a knitting group I'm in, she recommended a different way to make the bubbles to me, and somehow, I don't know why, but when I knitted these, I decided to make them according to pattern because they look really well in the pattern, and I should have just went with the technique my friend recommended. yeah, and I didn't, and that's just entirely my fault and my stupidity causing this. But yeah, I will push through it because the pattern is really pretty and the bubbles aren't on the entire sweater, so it's gonna be fine. But yeah, don't like knitting bubbles. I will need to try out the other method. And now the last one actually isn't really a spring knit. It's one I planned to make before Christmas and then wear around Christmas. It's the Holiday Slipover by Petiteknit, and her basic design is using like this ivory white, I guess, and it looks very pretty. But when I went to Copenhagen last fall, I found this green. Like, this is such a vibrant, nice green. It's Gepard Puno. It's 68% baby alpaca, 10% merino, and then 22% nylon for kind of the net, it says. The yarn is blown through. And I love this color. I'm going to make this anyway now, even though it has a winterish vibe to it, the green, or like a Christmas-ish vibe, because I feel, again, kind of depending on how you combine it, you can also still wear this in spring. And since it's alpaca, I know it's going to be very wearable all year round. And I really like the pattern of the Holiday Slipover, kind of the design, the cut, and kind of the way it's made. And I'm keeping this one to be like a fast knit. If I want to cast on something on one weekend and finish it within that weekend, I'm going to make this this vest. So I've got only 2 more things left. So then I have another whip, and I started this last fall and then I put it on hold because it's knitted in tarsia. It's a pattern I'm designing, and it took me so long to knit only like these few parts that I have, but I was thinking of unraveling it and making the intarsia batches. I'll show it to you in a sec, making them larger, but I don't think I want to do that because I like the look of the size of them, and I will push through it and I will finish this pattern for spring because I think the color combination is awesome for spring. So yeah, this right here is a sweater vest. I'm designing myself for my work for Yarny, and yeah, the colors, I love the combination. It's just so visually pleasing. I also put it in like this light green box, and even that just looks so pretty. And the sweater vest was the second thing I knitted when I started knitting after having crocheted before. And I made it up entirely out of my head. I didn't look up a pattern or anything, and I already made it twice. I think I just called it, honestly, I think I just called it the sweater vest. But yeah, because I already made it twice and I know that the look of the fit of the sweater vest is quite cool and I like it, I decided to make it into a pattern, and I thought it would be a very quick and easy knit. It isn't because of the intarsia. I decided to make it harder for myself, but I'm really enjoying it, and I'm working it with lamb's wool by Lang Yarns, which is a yarn, a kind of a yarn they launched last fall, and it's obviously lamb's wool. It's quite expensive. I think it's almost like 2.5 times the price of like their merino, but it's a very lightweight yarn. You don't need a lot of it for your projects, so you kind of save a bit in costs there again because you don't need a lot of it, and the colorways they made are so pretty, and this combination is so pretty. And I think in the end I'm probably going to have used, I think, 6 maybe 7 skeins of that yarn. And yeah, it's a very nice yarn also to knit, and also lightweight, and I feel like it's going to be also quite airy because I feel like it's quite springy. So yeah, that's on my needles as well. Okay, and so I have another whip work in progress. I'm drafting myself that isn't really springy, but again goes into this kind of same thought of, I know that the cold days are gonna come back again, even though I might not want them to, but they will. I know it. I always store knitting projects I don't work on as frequently in a little plastic bag, and I reuse these. I mean, by how crinkled they are, you see that, but that kind of keeps everything you don't want on your yarn away from it. And especially with my 2 cats that have very long fur and light colored fur, I need to store something like this, like that is black, in a bag, because otherwise, hell. This is also something I'm really not far at. I mean, I made like, I think these are like 7 rows, but this is kind of the edge of a beanie. But why I want to talk about this is this yarn. It's Grace by Lang Yarns, and honestly for a moment I thought they were going to discontinue it. For now, the black is discontinued, which is really sad, but this yarn, this is 60% silk, 40% cashmere. Like, imagine how soft that is. And I think it's almost equally as soft as the cashmere light, or even maybe a bit softer, but it's so pretty. This is just like a short, quick mention, quick shout out for this Grace by Lang Yarns. Very luxurious, very pretty, and another of my whips that I will be working on. So the yarn of the week, a well-deserved yarn of the week, is the Cashmere Light by Lang Yarns. Again, it's so beautiful. It's 88% cashmere, 12% nylon. It's a blown fluffy cashmere. It's the softest thing ever. It is quite expensive, I do know that, but if you can get your hands on this and if you can afford it, then I can recommend working with this. It's an amazing yarn. But I will continue and bring some more of the patterns that I have in my queue to you at a later point. I thought these all grouped quite well, but yeah. I hope you liked this video. I hope you liked my works in progresses, and I hope you liked the patterns I recommended to you. Do give all of these designers that I mentioned some love. Go and follow them on Instagram and on Ravelry and on YouTube if they're on YouTube, and please also do the same for me, because still very new to YouTube, still can use the support, and still would be so happy if you wanted to jump in the early days of this YouTube channel. But it was really fun, and if you like this, this is something I can quite easily do again, so do let me know. But this is the end for this crafty chat, and see you soon. Bye!